Nicki Minaj has never been afraid to call people out, but in July 2025 she took it to an entirely new level, accusing Jay-Z of cheating her out of millions. According to Nicki, she was promised a piece of TIDAL worth nearly $9 million, but instead she claims she got just $1 million, and now she wants up to $200 million in what she calls karmic debt. And just as the internet was processing that bombshell, she dropped another headline, involving a $10 million fight challenge between her husband Kenneth Petty and former NFL star Dez Bryant. For fans, it was pure chaos. For Nicki, it was just another week. But how did we get here from global rap queen to an endless cycle of feuds, lawsuits, and PR disasters? To understand the fall, we have to rewind. Like and subscribe to Stars and Hypes for more. And let's continue. If Nicki's clash with Jay-Z lit the match, the rest of 2025 poured on the gasoline. In July, she pulled an old trick from her playbook, feuding on social media, but this time her target wasn't a fellow rapper. It was SZA. What started with a cryptic post about industry gatekeepers quickly turned personal when Nicki directly accused Top Dog Entertainment president Punch of bullying and belittling SZA's success. She even implied that SZA had been forced to play nice with people who secretly worked against her. Fans were still dissecting that when Nicki dropped another curveball, a seemingly offhand reference to Bey, short for Beyonce, in the same post. Whether she meant it as a warning, a joke, or something else entirely, it was enough to mobilize the Beyhive. Within hours, Nicki's comments section was flooded with bee emojis, memes, and full-on essays defending Beyonce. Sensing the temperature rise, Nicki quietly edited her post to remove Beyonce's name, but the internet never forgets. Screenshots raced across X, Instagram, and TikTok, turning what might have been a niche industry squabble into mainstream drama. Even outlets that don't normally cover rap beef were suddenly talking about Nicki versus Beyhive. But the drama wasn't confined to the US. Around the same time, old trouble from overseas resurfaced. In early 2025 interviews, Nicki was asked about her May 2024 arrest in Amsterdam, when Dutch police detained her at Schiphol Airport for carrying cannabis. While she insisted it was medicinal and legal in her view, authorities fined her and let her go. The problem? Someone had filmed the whole thing. The footage, Nicki in designer travel gear, visibly frustrated, telling officers, "I'm not doing this," exploded online. For critics, it became the perfect symbol of a star who always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. For fans, it was another example of the world unfairly targeting her. Either way, it kept her in headlines for all the wrong reasons. And then there were the whispers. Rumors about a lawsuit from inside her own camp. An incident involving a tour staffer that allegedly happened months earlier but hadn't yet made the courts. At the time, it was just a murmur, but by year's end, it would become its own headline-grabbing case. By the midpoint of 2025, one thing was clear: Nicki Minaj wasn't dominating the charts the way she once had, but she didn't need to. The drama alone was keeping her name in everyone's mouth. The question was, at what cost? Before 2025's chaos, Nicki Minaj had already spent over a decade perfecting the art of the public feud. For years, it wasn't just her music that kept her name trending. It was her willingness to go toe-to-toe with anyone. One of the earliest and most infamous clashes was with Lil Kim. Back in the early 2010s, comparisons between the two were unavoidable. Both bold, both theatrical, both unafraid of sexualized imagery. Lil Kim accused Nicki of copying her style. Nicki hit back in interviews and threw veiled bars in her songs. The feud set the tone. Nicki wasn't here to play nice. But the real turning point came in 2017 with Remy Ma. After Remy dropped Shether, a savage 7-minute diss track over Nas's Aether beat, fans declared it a lyrical knockout. It wasn't just personal, it was strategic, packed with allegations and insults aimed at dismantling Nicki's credibility. Nicki's response? No frauds felt tame by comparison. And for the first time, people began to openly wonder if the Queen's crown was slipping. Then came the feud that defined her late 2010s image: Cardi B. What began as industry rumors of tension exploded at the Harper's Bazaar Icons party in 2018, where Cardi famously threw a shoe at Nicki. The cause? Cardi accused Nicki of trying to sabotage her career and, more personally, of talking about her child. Nicki's clashes didn't stop there. She had verbal spats with Miley Cyrus, coining the now iconic "Miley, what's good" line at the 2015 MTV VMAs, and even traded shade with Taylor Swift over VMA nominations. Each fight was different, but the pattern was the same. Nicki's unapologetic callouts kept her relevant, but also painted her as combative in an industry that can turn cold on you fast. By the time the 2020s arrived, these feuds had built her brand as hip-hop's queen of confrontation, but they also created a public expectation. People tuned in as much for her next diss as for her next single, and when the music started hitting less often, the drama had to get bigger to fill the gap. In late 2018, Nicki Minaj surprised fans when she went public with her relationship with Kenneth Petty, a man she'd known since her teenage years in Queens. This wasn't just another celebrity romance. Petty was a registered offender. tied to a serious case in the 1990s involving a teenage girl. Years later, in 2006, he was convicted of manslaughter for his role in the shooting death of Lamont Robinson, serving 7 years in prison. From the moment the relationship went public, the backlash was instant and intense. Some fans embraced it as a childhood love story, proof that Nicki was loyal to those she'd known long before fame. Others saw it as a high-risk move that could damage her brand, especially in a social climate where public figures are scrutinized for the company they keep. Nicki, never one to back down, defended Petty openly in interviews and online, insisting that the narrative around him was incomplete and unfair. But controversy seemed to follow. In 2019, after relocating to California, Petty failed to update his status in the state registry. That decision caught up with him in 2020 when he was arrested, later pleading guilty. By 2022, he was sentenced to a year of home confinement and 3 years of probation. The situation grew even more heated in 2021 when Jennifer Hoff, the woman from Petty's 1990s case, spoke publicly for the first time in years. She alleged that individuals linked to Nicki had pressured her to alter her account, claims that Nicki firmly denied. Hoff filed a lawsuit naming both Petty and Nicki. While the case against Nicki was eventually dropped, the allegations dominated headlines and kept the debate alive. The media cycle around Petty began to feel endless. Every new development, whether it was a court date, a public statement, or even a casual paparazzi sighting, became an opportunity for critics to question Nicki's judgment. Instead of conversations about new music, much of the spotlight shifted to legal updates and public controversies. By the mid-2020s, the relationship had become a lightning rod, deeply polarizing her fan base. Supporters argued it was a private matter and proof of her personal loyalty. Detractors saw it as one of the biggest missteps of her career, a decision that continually pulled her into headlines for all the wrong reasons. And as if the public perception wasn't already complicated, Petty's name would continue to surface in some of Nicki's most visible battles, including one that would erupt into a high-profile lyrical war. By early 2024, Nicki Minaj's name was already tangled in headlines over her personal life, but the next controversy would come from her greatest weapon: music. It began in January when Megan Thee Stallion released a sharp, metaphor-heavy track called Hiss. On the surface, it was just another lyrical showcase, rapid flows, slick wordplay, and confidence dripping from every bar. But one line changed everything. Megan referenced Megan's Law, a US registry statute, and fans instantly connected it to Kenneth Petty's legal past. Whether intentional or not, it set social media ablaze within hours. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. TikTok was plastered with lyric breakdowns, and timelines were filled with debates over whether this was a direct shot at Nicki. Nicki's answer was swift and anything but subtle. Just days later, she dropped Bigfoot, a no-holds-barred diss track aimed squarely at Megan. Over a pounding beat, Nicki fired off bar after bar, lacing insults with personal digs and industry shade. The track's title alone was seen as a pointed mockery, and the verses left no doubt about who she was talking to. The internet erupted. Bigfoot smashed streaming records for a diss track, amassing millions of plays in less than 24 hours. For Nicki's most loyal fans, it was a thrilling reminder of her battle rap roots, the razor-sharp delivery, the fearless call-outs, the confidence that had made her a dominant figure for over a decade. But outside her fan base, the reception was far more complicated. Critics argued the track crossed personal lines, dragging in topics tied to Megan's real-life traumas. Some called it mean-spirited rather than clever. Others felt it was a sign Nicki was more focused on clapping back than on elevating her artistry. And Megan's response? Silence, at least on wax. Instead of engaging in a back and forth, she doubled down on promoting Hiss, which soon skyrocketed to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, earning praise as one of her most lyrically sharp releases. The absence of a rebuttal track was read by many as a tactical win. Megan had landed her shot, held her ground, and let the charts do the talking. In the weeks that followed, Bigfoot became more than just a rap beef moment. It was a cultural split screen. On one side, Nicki proving she could still go for the jugular when provoked. On the other, a younger star showing that in 2024 you could win a feud without ever picking up the mic again. For Nicki, the track was a reminder of her unmatched skill in a lyrical battle. But for her critics, it was another example of how the drama was starting to overshadow the music, and how the public's perception of her was shifting from pioneering queen to polarizing figure. Just as 2025 was getting underway, Nicki Minaj's name was back in court. But this time, it wasn't about music rights, chart disputes, or social media feuds. It was a claim coming from inside her own circle. In January 2025, a man who identified himself as her former tour manager filed a lawsuit alleging that Nicki had physically struck him backstage during a 2024 show in Detroit. According to his account, the alleged incident happened in the high-pressure minutes before she was set to perform, a chaotic moment where tempers boiled over. He claimed the encounter left him not only with physical pain but also emotional distress that forced him to walk away from the job entirely. In his filing, the plaintiff described a tense backstage atmosphere. with high stakes, short tempers, and little margin for error. He alleged that the blow-up was not an isolated moment, hinting that the environment during her tours could be volatile. For casual readers of the headlines, it was yet another example of drama spilling out from behind the curtain. Nicki's camp wasted no time responding. Her legal team issued a firm denial, calling the entire story false and frivolous, and accusing the plaintiff of attempting to exploit her fame for financial gain. They insisted there was no credible evidence, no verified witnesses, no footage to support the claims, and made it clear they intended to fight the case aggressively in court. Still, the optics were damaging. This was coming at a moment when Nicki was actively trying to pivot the conversation back to music and performance, pushing new singles, teasing visuals, and trying to regain the artistic momentum that had been overshadowed by feuds and personal controversies. Instead, the public conversation was once again dominated by legal drama. The timing also added fuel to her critics' narrative that the Queen of Rap was spending more time in disputes than in the studio. And while this case was far from resolved, it was about to be overshadowed by something far more bizarre. An unexpected celebrity showdown that turned the internet into a virtual boxing arena. By the time August rolled around, most fans thought they had seen every type of Nicki Minaj headline possible. Then came one of the most unexpected storylines of the year, a celebrity fight challenge that sounded more like a viral prank than a real-life offer. It started when former NFL star Dez Bryant and Nicki's husband Kenneth Petty began exchanging subtle jabs online. What began as social media shade, a few cryptic posts, indirect comments, quickly snowballed into a full-blown back and forth. In the middle of it, Nicki herself stepped in and turned the feud into a spectacle. She publicly suggested a $10 million fight between Bryant and Petty. Winner takes the prize. The internet reaction was instant. Memes flooded X and Instagram, with fans debating everything from betting odds to potential venues. Some took the idea seriously, imagining it as a pay-per-view event. Others saw it as pure trolling. Regardless, it kept Nicki's name front and center for days. Bryant initially responded with more verbal jabs, playing into the hype. But as the conversation got louder and more exaggerated, the energy shifted. Within a short time, Bryant publicly apologized, and the idea of a real fight dissolved as quickly as it had appeared. For some fans, it was just another chaotic but harmless chapter in the Nicki Minaj saga. For others, it was a sign of how far things had drifted from the artistry that built her career. Instead of dominating the rap world with a new era-defining album, Nicki was now part of internet debates about whether her husband could take on a retired football player in a boxing ring. This kind of story was entertaining, sure, but it also reinforced the narrative that her public image in 2025 was being shaped by viral moments and spectacle rather than music. From the outside, Nicki Minaj's career reads like a cautionary tale in reverse. She didn't slowly climb to fame, she exploded onto the scene, dominating charts, awards, and headlines for over a decade. But somewhere along the way, the headlines stopped being about the music. The feuds that once fueled her legend, Lil Kim, Remy Ma, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, became less about proving lyrical dominance and more about sustaining an image. The personal choices, especially her marriage to Kenneth Petty, created a constant stream of legal updates and public controversy that she could never quite outrun. And in 2025, the noise only got louder, a bitter equity dispute with Jay-Z, online clashes with SZA and the Bayhive, a lawsuit from her own tour team, and even a viral $10 million fight challenge involving a retired NFL star. For her most loyal fans, Nicki remains the Queen of Rap, a cultural icon whose influence is unmatched. For her critics, she's a symbol of how fame can morph into a constant battle to control the narrative. And for the casual listener, she's no longer just an artist, but a tabloid headline generator. The truth is, Nicki Minaj still holds a unique position in music. She can drop a verse and dominate social media within hours. She can stir a conversation with a single Instagram post. But the question hanging over her legacy is no longer about whether she can reclaim the throne. It's about whether she even wants to fight for it in the way she once did. In the end, the sad downfall of Nicki Minaj isn't that she lost her talent or her voice. It's that the spotlight she fought so hard to own now shines just as brightly on the chaos as it does on the craft. And unless the balance shifts back toward the music, the world may remember her not only as the queen she once was, but as the artist who couldn't escape her own headlines. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to Stars and Hype so you don't miss what's coming next. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how things will continue in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care and have a great day.